I just think it's so hard, man, trying to make like you're so you get jaded, and I tell like my wife's my best friend and my business partner. I mean he's he like know me for, but like meeting new people, like trying to build, and you see like how these guys are, and I'm like, dude, I just look at them like the quality. It's not the same upbringing, like you said. Your dad was military, very very
I came from
decorated.
a very
You
rigid
know what I
family.
mean?
Like,
So
yeah,
I
man.
mean, but the people I grew up around, a lot of the OGs were ex-military, either been the Korean War, Vietnam War. So there was a lot of like just there are certain things that you carry yourself as a young man in a neighborhood, and just handling situations, whether it's like getting bullied or doing different things. You guys go work it out as men, but it was a different caliber of guy, and I see now. And that's why I felt it was so important to get your interview on here, so you could share your story from your perspective to kind of shed light, because the game, it's glorified. It's these guys. And
No,
they
I mean,
never,
I saw
you know,
Scarface and it fucked me up when I was
yeah,
young. I moved out. I love my parents, man. I came from the most stable household, like I was the black sheep, like, but I just moved out. I didn't want to be told what to do anymore. I went to a high school in San Diego. It's like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I had surf PE, ceramics where I'm making bongs. I mean, I graduated from a school where I didn't really have to do shit but surf on the team and, and smoke weed. And, I love San Diego High, man. I mean, I was a lifetime surfer. I've surfed in professional events. I mean, I can surf, and that surfing life and that business is saturated with drugs and smuggling back then. I mean, a lot of companies were built with it. And, I'm living right on the border. I'm in Encinitas, and so naturally, I started slinging coke back then, and I picked up a federal case when I was 21. And, but you couldn't get any time. It was before the Sentence Reform Act. I got caught with a quarter kilo and like shitloads of weapons, and I was red-handed living in my fucking condo in La Costa. And, but fuck, I got like 18 months, I mean, back then, before the Sentence Reform Act, you could get caught with 10 keys of coke and get fucking 5 years, 3 years. There was none of the minimum, and people don't understand, man, the minimum mandatory sentencing and all that shit. I mean, yeah, Reagan put that in a weekend. One weekend, he told this guy, hey, fix it by Monday. And so they started that, and then Clinton came in with the minimum mandatory sentencing guidelines. I mean, it's been like, that's when the game changed. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man, you get caught with like 300 pounds of weed or whatever, man, I should be able to do like a year or two on that. Give me a slap.
Well, they give a pedophile a year.
Fuck,
Probation.
Dude. Fuck, you already know, man.
You know what I mean? They don't do no time.
All I can say is I did some of them fools dirty during my bid, you know what I mean? When it's funny at the level I was at, like they just give you a nod, like one walks on the yard and they're like, yeah, fuck, this idiot wants to walk, but we're gonna run his paperwork anyway. But yeah, there was countless ones that we hit,
Do you think there's anything like somebody could have told a younger version of you to kind of maybe deter you away from the life of crime, or you think that was like inevitably something you were gonna get involved in based on your lifestyle?
I mean, look, when I got released out of the feds, I did my little time at Boron Federal Prison Camp. It's like a country club. They had a swimming pool. Like nowadays,
that was old school.
That was old school.
Back.
But they're solid dudes there. Like you don't really,
but that's what it was
but
all,
you don't see that now. Dudes at the mediums and the low. I mean, the lows and in the camps, like they're either white collar guys that are harmless or they're rats. You know what I mean? So
I heard stories back in the 50s.
Yeah, but back then it was cool. Like I was locked up with some cool ass Hells Angels and some fucking a bunch of dudes that had wide open cases they were getting 10-year sentences and sent straight to a camp. There ain't no walls there. But anyway, when I got released out of there, and I'm writing about it right now. I'm writing that part of my book right now. I went right back in the game, man. I met all my connections when I was in there. I immediately went right back to work. And that's some gnarly. Those are stories I'm going to talk about, man. Like I literally had I'm driving a fucking $150,000 cigarette boat up and down the coast. I got a 930 slant nose Porsche. I'm out on. I got 2 different houses. I mean, I never stopped, dude. And like they tried to get me and it failed. They tried to entrap me. Like I got some crazy stories, man. But once I got off parole, it was special parole back then. It was hard, man. Once I got off, like 2 days before I got released, I already split. I went to Port Escondido to surf for my friend Chandler, man. I went down there to surf the pipeline. And I was in the water, and I was like, hey, I just expired, because I thought they were going to fuck with me, and they didn't. They didn't even know I left, you know, because it was just, I was just never stopping. I was flying loads of weed in immediately. I went out and bought a Cessna right when I got released, and I didn't give a fuck. I wanted my money back, you know. Like, I had a really crazy mentality. And yeah, looking back on it, I just really can't believe I really acted like that, you know, but because I have talent, you know, I got a great voice. I'm very industrious. I'm business minded. You know, it's not an easy thing to ship like whatever I allegedly did, you know, 10, 15, 20 tons of weed across the United States and never lost a load, not once.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a big business, and to secure the money. Back then, you could shake a hand. I mean, there's a table this big full of cash, and ain't nobody drawing weapons on nobody here, man. Throw it in the bags. It was a handshake deal.
Yeah.
You know, it was a cool business. But once I got indicted, it just, to be fucked with that way. Like, if you would have just said, hey, man, you know, we didn't catch you, but here's an 8-year plea, I'd have signed it, man.
Yeah.
And I'd have given you another $1 million you don't know about.
Yeah.
But it was just never offered to me, you know. And I was, at that time, only a marijuana smuggler. That's it. My whole case is weed. That fucking shit's legal now in 38 states. Yeah. And it's like, but again, I'm not going to cry about what happened. My journey forward is to help people. And I do it for my son. I do it for my parents. Out of honor, man, I'm just going to help people, man. I want to help people cope with PTSD. I've never talked to anyone about it. You try having your son murdered, dude, while you're in a box, and have him come down and shackle him. Boy, they hit me with black box, double ankles, double. I fucking thought one of my parents died, you know? And when I went in there and they told me, man, it was like, and I'm surrounded by people, man, like a lot of big cops, and there's some piece of shit, you know, priest there, and I'm fucking shackled. And then when they told me it was my son, you know, it's like, that's why it changed me, man. Like, the guilt you hold, like, if I'd have kept my temper cool and not been in so long, he wouldn't have been where he was that day. Those are the things I think about. It's not about me, man.
Yeah.
It's about, I want to help people in his honor. That's my journey. Like, I've been out now. I was in the halfway house for like 15 months, and now I've been free for like 2 months, man. And I'm lucky. I got a cool PO, man. He's real respectful, and you know, and you know, it's just, I'm just doing my thing, man. And I'm writing my book, and I'm close to getting an agent for my voice. I mean, I have an amazing voice, not to be arrogant, but that's my gift. My brother was a DJ, you know, like our whole brothers. I have 3 brothers. But, you know, we got this voice, you know, so I'm going to put that to work. I want to voice over the whole movie. And, you know, what I'm doing, no one's ever done it. Have a film made of them. And then, like, you look at, like, Goodfellas, and Ray Liotta's playing the rat, Henry Hill. You know, Paulie said, you know, if you don't do this, you're going to get whacked. But, like, whereas when they're doing my story, I'm gonna talk about it, you know, what it was like to grow up in Encinitas when it was beautiful in Southern California, you know, back in the early 80s, late 70s, and how I did come from a really good family. And I just wanted money, and I didn't think I was smart enough. Like, my brothers went to college. My one brother was a pilot. My oldest brother, like, had a company, took public. He's worth almost $100 million. And it's like, I just never thought I was smart enough to do it, but come to find out I am. I mean, I read 900 books when I was in prison, easy. You know, I did 11 and a half years in the hole. You know, you got to stay busy. You know what I mean?
I know about reading books.
Yeah, brother. And it's like, but in retrospect, I hope I wasn't too drawn out. Like, you know, yeah, I mean, you say, would I have changed it? I mean, up until the time I got arrested, no. I mean, I would have just, I loved it. It was the life I loved, and I was good at it. And I didn't feel like I was poisoning our country. I was selling weed, man. You know, I mean, yeah, back in the days, I moved a lot of coke too, you know, but I stopped with all that when I saw meth and what it was doing to people, and now they got that poison fentanyl out there, you know, but
the reason I say that is because, like, I was big into skateboarding and BMXing, and they didn't really have any black guys skateboarding. There was Steve Steadham.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Steadham was, like, the only guy for Peralta back then.
Yeah.
And,
I used to work at the Baines surf and skate factory.
Okay.
I used to cut surf fins out
So
there.
that was like my passion.
In a way, and all them
there was
guys.
no money back then. Remember, it was Transworld, Thrasher magazine, and I used to wear Jimmy Z's, GMS.
Yeah.
I used to do all that stuff. But I'm thinking, like, man, if I would have stuck with that and just been a square, and I was into designing stuff, drawing. And,
I had a clothing company during all that. I was
started
sponsored.
my first one in high school too.
Yeah, I was sponsored by Eberly and Rip Curl and all these other. I was getting the usual. The local surf shops are giving you stuff. But then when I'm in there, the guys that own this place, they're slinging coke, and I'm like, whoa, and they recruit me, and next thing you know,
I just watched that story about Stussy. Remember Stussy, and his started off, doing the boards, and I'm thinking, man, what if I would have stuck with, just like, but it's like so I think of a younger version. What could a younger version have directed me this way instead of going this way?
No, I mean, I was like the last callback for, I was young, I was a model, like in my, I did a lot of work, International Mail, like companies like that. And I was like the last callback for fucking Iceman. It was me, Val Kilmer, and one other dude when they shot Top Gun. My agent, Janice Patterson's like, gosh, I don't really know how to act. And I didn't really get the part. I mean, Val Kilmer, come to find out, I watched the documentary, is a brilliant actor with a lot of skills, but it was cool, I got caught. But I think at that day in the room when Tom Cruise was there, I think it was because I was so much taller than him. Yeah, he's got a kind of a short, he's a great actor. He's got a serious short man complex. But and then at that point, I think that was where I was like, I was so close to being like my life could have gone a whole different way. And I did do a movie. I've been in a movie, and I got Taft-Hartley, and I speak all through the movie. And it was done with Ruth Landers was doing it, Audrey and Judy's mother. Remember the two beautiful women, the blonde and the brunette. But like that's, if you ask the question, like that's kind of like that. I was about to go that way, and if I would have, and I tell you, when I was 38 years old, I'm out on bond on this case, and I walked in, had an introduction to Larry Hummel from ICM. I've spoke to him since I've been out, and he heard my voice, and he's in the back, and he's like, God, you're my 1 o'clock? Oh my God, Jesus, where you been? How old are you? He goes, you could have been retired by now with a voice like that. Yeah, I wish I would have done that instead, And then, I told him, I said, I'm out on bond. He goes, are you going to win? I go, I hope so. I said, there's no evidence. He goes, well, look, I'm going to put you in school. Like, they paid for all that shit for me. And it was at 38 years old, and I realized, like, that's what I should have done, is just really focused on my voice and, and then my son would be alive. Like, you got to think like that. Like, where would he have been?
Though, I think about...
it was a gang initiation. A guy did that to him. My son was murdered by some punk named Kevin Pham, and he's a Vietnamese kid. Him and 3 of his buddies had jumped on my son's cousin in high school in Vista. And my son rolls around, sees 4 guys beating up his cousin. He naturally jumps in. No weapons, no vicious shit, just beat him up. They left. And when I was in prison, my son was raised at that house by a good family, the Pratt family. His aunts and uncles, they're good people. And when my son turned 18, because when I went in, he was 8. You know what I mean? So when he turned 18, he moved into his own house in Fallbrook. And, he was doing his thing, and had his dogs and his garden. And so he went back for Christmas Eve 4 years later, and that same kid out of that gang, it was one of the kids that was in that fight, had showed up waiting outside the house on Christmas Eve to kill my son's cousin.
Damn.
And when my son walked out, they shot him instead. And you have to reflect on things like that, or you're not a good human being. And I can tell you this, man, like, I'm the kind of guy that, like, I'm so helpful to people. I love helping. I taught people how to read in there. I taught, I have such a good spirit in me. And when I'm home now, it's like, yeah, man, like, naturally you think, like, I'm just gonna fucking split, fuck this. But I have my parents here, and I just wanna, my revenge is my success. Like, I'm not gonna pick up a weapon like I used to, or go after people and nothing. Like, I'm done with it, man. Yeah. I'm 60 years old, man. I need to, 61. And I just want to live my life, but I want to give back. I so much want to give back to people and show people how I am. And, for real, man, like, I was such a, like, a really good father. You know, I was a good husband, a good son, and nobody knew what I was doing. Like, I'm living in Rancho Santa Fe, and we got the keys to each other's houses, and I mean, nobody has a clue. And then all of a sudden, these fucking damn assault tanks and everything are rolling down to my house, you know, and you know, because I was just a developer, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm building houses, here's my cards, here's my rental properties in Cabo, come on down, you know, but it was all with weed money, you know, so, but no different than the Kennedys. The old man Kennedy made all their money bootlegging alcohol when Prohibition. It's exactly like weed, you know it's gonna be legal, so get it while it's not.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, you know, and that I'm bitter about, because the way the feds schedule weed, like right with coke, like, come on, stud, I've done a ton of coke in my life, you know, and you know, that shit's poison. But marijuana, I ain't never seen no one overdose on that yet. And it's better than eating pharmaceutical drugs for your pain. So I rationalized what I did is not a bad thing, and I'll stand on that. But I also have to criticize myself for the way I reacted. You know, I stood up to tyranny, you know, is what I did, and I paid for it.
Well, I think your story, man, it's going to resonate with a lot of our viewers, and people at home can see that you're not glorifying, you're just sharing something that can put their life into perspective, because everybody goes through different things. And
Right.
I used to always be like, man, why do I have to go through this? Man, I used to sit there and be like, dude, I was good in school, I did all this stuff, and then here I am sitting here in the prison, and I'm stuck, and I can't go home. And I'm like, I could have just stayed in bed that day, you know, and it just doesn't, sometimes I try to rationalize.
Drives you crazy,
Yeah,
don't it?
man, it doesn't make sense. And then everybody else is just cool, they're hanging out, dudes are politicking, it's like.
But you know how I rationalized it, and I'm glad you said that. Look at all the times I escaped them. I mean, I've been through so many close calls. They've grabbed me, held me, like, you know, they're searching my home. I mean, there's millions of dollars in the yard. I've got 20 grand in my underwear. I got 2 ounces of weed in my underwear and 40 grand in my shoes. They grabbed me at the airport once. I mean, I had so many clothes, and they had to release me. They didn't have nothing. They didn't search me. They patted me down. Like, had they done that, I could have had a charge. They went to my house. You know, I had a beautiful house at the time. And, you know, and it's like I escaped so many times. I slid by so many times that it's just part of the game, man.
Yeah.
You know, but what people need to know, like, and look, I'd like to say, oh, to all you youngsters, you know, like, don't do this, but I have partners that made it. They did this their whole lives, never got caught. And I like to think that I was smart enough not to, but the difference between me and them is I'm not really a pacifist. If you fuck with me, I'm a fight, you know, and, you know, I'm changing that with the help of, like, people around me, you know, to not be so, you know, I had issues when I got out, dude. I mean, fuck, bro, they put me in LA, man, right in the middle of that shit, you know, and people are disrespectful and stuff, and I had to just keep telling myself, you're not in prison, you know, it doesn't matter who you were in there, and I was someone in there. You know what I mean? I didn't really answer to too many people.
But that's why I think you got to always look at the bigger picture too, because like you said, some people got away. You know, there's a lot of, like you said, families that were built on different things they got away with. But you're like, okay, I got caught. So what did that mean? And then now you're recognizing, but that means I have a greater purpose on something else.
No,
so
absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely, bro. Because like I see, my life was like the movie Blow. I mean, dude. I mean, I used to rent like the whole top of the Bellagio out, man. Have my partners there, man. I got married out there, and man, we'd be up there snorting coke, eating ecstasy. I'm blowing 20, 30,000 a weekend on hookers for all my boys. You know, like I was a maniac. Like I lived that life. I've been sitting up, heart slamming out of my chest, steam coming off me, air conditioners in the suite, up to, you know, down to 50, and I'm like, I didn't die then. Like for some reason, God kept me alive for some reason. But I believe that he spoke when he let me out on that case. That Lamont Davis, that 924C that stemmed from Johnson, you know. Like, I had someone once when I got out, like someone I knew for years, he just died, Conrad. And his mother's the sole heiress of the Zenith fortune, and we used to rip and roar together. And I got a hold of him, like, what's up, man? What's going on? He's like, how'd you get out? Like almost like questioning how I got out, bro. Like I'm like, and I tell him all this, and I said, read it. And I hung up. I said, I'm cool, man. I said to say hello, fucking read my shit. It's an open record how I beat this case, you know. A lot of people got out on that Lamont Davis case.
Well, there's a lot of dudes like we
case.
talked about, like guys who actually go to the law library, who were putting in the work, and know their guys getting out, and everybody else is watching TV, hanging out. So it's like, you know, there's two classes of people.
Yeah, they're worried about who Khloe Kardashian's gonna fuck next, and I'm like, I'm in there trying to win my case.
I seen dudes almost stick each other over that.
Yeah,
literally,
bro.
you know, arguing over the Kardashian. I'm like, really, bro? You're tripping off of that?
Yeah.
So, you know.
And I mean, here's the thing, man. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
I commend you on having put the work in with the legal stuff, man, because to me,
one of my friends told me, I was in Lewisburg SMU, and he yells over, he goes, Alan Shelby, fucking cold monster. And I'm in the cell with Jimmy Hodge, my good friend from Arizona, and he goes, hey, man, this case, this is you, man, you qualify. But I couldn't understand it. I'm like, well, no, it's not a crime of violence. And I'm like, how can it not be a crime of violence? The fucking prosecutor's brother almost died. I mean, you know, the fuckers got shot. They said, but you didn't pull the trigger. It was conspiracy, and you can beat it on this conspiracy clause. And I did. And a lot of other people did.
Yeah.
And, but I don't take it lightly, and I don't, but you know what's crazy is there are prosecutors out there that have no heart, and she was one of them. Laugh at your family. They laughed at my mother and my wife after I got life, ha ha, smiling at her and shit. But I didn't do a fucking day for that shooting. So fuck you. You know what I mean? That's what you get for being a devil. Karma came in. The only time I did was for my weed charges. And it would have never happened had people not been so barbaric and not just had no boundaries. Like, be a prosecutor, man. Just focus on me here.
Yeah.
You know, don't do this to my family, man. But
well, man, I thank you for coming on, bro. That's a hell of a story, and I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of comments from the people watching, the viewers, and we'll make sure to put all your social media stuff in the links. People can contact you.
all right,
You
man.
know, if you have anything going on as far as in the future, make sure you have you back on the show. But we're gonna share this with as many people as possible, man, because I know this is gonna resonate with a lot of people, man.
Well, and I thank you for that, and I just hope the viewers see that I'm not like, I'm the antithesis of a Wes Watson. I'm the opposite of that. So, you know, and I'm, you know, there's so much I haven't told, you know, but I have website creators, and I have people putting together my own stuff, and it'll be a privilege to share everything with you back and forth, and maybe I interview you one day. You know?
Man, I love that.
Yeah, man, and but yeah, I appreciate you. My respects to you.
Thank you. And there you have it, you guys. Big Herc 916, fresh out with Dago Mark.
Peace.
Like, subscribe, share.